Welcome back to another episode of Stacking Dennys. My name is Jordan Maccabee of Rotoballer. My co-host Nick Giffen of the Action Network. Joey Logano in victory lane for the All-Star race, but that was not the story from the weekend. Kyle Busch, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. getting in a fight after the race. Absolute dominating effort by Joey Logano. Put on yet another boring All-Star race, which is the big takeaway from most people after this event. Jeff Gluck's poll, 36.9% voted yes, that was a good race. I know we'll get into that, but Nick, we talked about it last week with this All-Star race. I'll tell you what, man, it felt good to take a little week off. I did not. I watched the race. I enjoyed the race. I didn't care about betting on the race. I didn't do a single fantasy lineup last week, and it just felt good. It felt good to have a little break there. Was it fun? It was fun to watch the race and not really have to do anything. I did bet Logano live, but that's, just because I needed the itch. But overall, what'd you think of that race and the track itself? Because North Wilkesboro is a newly repaved track. Obviously, we raced there last year. What was your overall takeaway? Because there's a lot of people saying that North Wilkesboro deserves a points race now.
Yeah, there's a lot of things to unpack here. First of all, I enjoyed the week off as well. It was fantastic. I only made two bets. I bet Hamlin to win, and I bet Larson to win just in case it qualifying and the heats rained out, which was a very distinct possibility. And they finished second and fourth, so don't even feel too bad about those at all. But bets aside, and I wasn't even really trying. I was just like, oh, okay, Hamlin favorite, Larson maybe rain. Like there was no analysis in any of that. I just a couple bets to scratch the itch, like you said. But I enjoyed having the week off. I don't know if I enjoyed watching the race, but I was glad to have a race to watch because the race wasn't good. It was bad. It got, like you said, 36.9% or something good race in Jeff Gluck's poll. I voted bad. It was awful. You couldn't pass. Obviously Denny could pass at the beginning just because he was a little further back than he probably should have been based off his speed. And Blaney basically just got track position from that very first pit stop on the Stenhouse caution. And there wasn't much passing. There was some side-by-side for the lead, but you couldn't pass for the lead. There was some side-by-side for trying to lap Bubba Wallace, but you couldn't lap Bubba Wallace. It was bad. It was just bad. It was not a good race. That said, I don't think North Wilkesboro is a bad track, so we have to unpack, like I said, the track from the car. And the car right now is just terrible on shorter, flatter tracks, especially with a repave. The softer compound tires didn't do shit. Everybody just ran the softer compound, and they lasted the whole 100 laps of a stage. So it wasn't a good race. But that's not an indictment on North Wilkesboro. Do I want to see the All-Star race at North Wilkesboro next year? No, if we have this car. If we had a car that ran better in short, flat tracks, I think it would be a great race. But it's just, right now, it's the car. The truck race was, I didn't watch it, but I heard the truck race was really good at North Wilkesboro. So it's
after
definitely not the track. Yeah, after the flood. So it's definitely not the track. It's just the car. I think Xfinity could put on a good show at North Wilkesboro if they happen to run it. They haven't, of course, but Xfinity seems to put on good shows everywhere. So I don't, it's not a North Wilkesboro is terrible, don't return here. I just don't want them to return there until we have a car that runs better at short, flat tracks.
I will note, for it being a newly repaved track, the fact that they could run multiple grooves, I like that. I feel like that's a positive for North Wilkesboro. And yeah, I agree. We have to fix this car on these shorter flat tracks. But if they fix the car for those, then all of a sudden intermediates are going to go to shit. So it's not a very easy thing for them to do. But, Logano and that 22 team just knocked out of the park all weekend, started on the pole, led 199 of the 200 laps. And like you said, you could not pass. About the only time you could pass was on restarts, which, we see mostly everywhere. And that's the only time we saw the side-by-side. Like, don't get me wrong, the battle between Christopher Bell and Logano there was good. It was fun to watch. And then, they got into each other and Hamlin took advantage and he made it 3 wide. Like, that was fun to watch, but that doesn't make it a good race by any means. And obviously the dominating performance by Logano doesn't help at all. Anytime someone just kicks the shit out of everybody, it's typically not.
But the thing is, like, You're right. Like when anybody has a dominating performance, it is a little boring, but like it makes sense when it's somebody who has a dominating performance and they pull away by 2, 3, 4 seconds. Logano was just always like half a second ahead, and maybe you got a second and a half ahead, and then the gap closed, and you just couldn't pass. The clean air, the air blocking, that was king, and that's what we don't like to see. If faster cars can't pass the leader, that's frustrating.
Yeah, overall, I'm glad the week's over. I'm glad we're on to Charlotte. The second half of the regular season getting started. But overall, yeah, just nice to get that week off. Obviously, the big story coming out of the All-Star race, though, is Stenhouse versus Kyle Busch now. I'm curious to hear your takes on this because, obviously we've all seen the replays. Stenhouse took him 3 wide. Kyle Busch ends up in the wall. Kyle Busch is pissed. Busch puts Stenhouse, just kills his car, to bring out the first caution. I think it was on lap 2. And then, Stenhouse basically waited for Busch and punched him in the face. And it's been a while since we saw that. So I'm curious to see, do you think there's a couple things here. Do you think Busch was warranted to wreck Stenhouse the way that he did?
God, no. No.
Yeah.
I mean, Stenhouse put him 3 wide, but that's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to, fill the hole. Especially, he didn't touch Kyle Busch. He did not touch him. He filled the hole. He got 3 wide. And you watch the replay, especially from Stenhouse, as McDowell kind of comes up on Stenhouse, so Stenhouse has to kind of move up, and then Rowdy moves up into the wall. It's racing. You're racing.
Yeah.
Stenhouse didn't even touch Kyle Busch. So I don't think there was any justification whatsoever in the retaliation. I
honestly think Kyle Busch kind of just refused to lift a little bit. He also had a part in it. He refused to lift, 100%. And that's why he ended up in the wall. Yeah. And I think his reaction to put Stenhouse into the wall and to just destroy his race car, I'm not sure that Busch intended for it to be that bad. I think it just ended up being that bad. And, that's a bigger part of why Stenhouse was pissed off. I think Rowdy just tried to maybe just bump him a little bit, but he ended up just putting him straight, Stenhouse went head on into that fucking wall.
It became the right rear hook, essentially.
Again,
I don't know, like you said, I don't know if it was intentional or not. And certainly it's not as bad at these shorter, flatter tracks, but at a bigger track, that could be certainly dangerous. But I don't think Rowdy does that at a bigger track. So tough to say, but I agree with you 100%. Rowdy could have backed out of that and, in the 3 wide situation. And Stenhouse had every right to shoot the middle there, shoot the gap. We saw Buescher do it at Kansas a couple weeks ago and, kept his foot in it, and everybody made it 5 wide. Now, obviously, that's a different track, but those drivers could have potentially made it 3 wide. And if not, because of McDowell coming up on the track, Rowdy could just back out and preserve his car. There's other things that could happen besides getting yourself in the wall on the first lap.
Right.
Rowdy decided he wanted to keep his foot in it and then ruin Stenhouse's day before it even got started. So, I don't know if it was intentional. He certainly meant to beat and bang with Ricky and move him at that point. I just don't know if the accident part was on purpose or not. And I'm 50-50 on it. I could see, we know Rowdy. He gets pissed. He gets angry. He's done things like that before where he's intentionally wrecked guys. So, I don't know. I'm 50-50 on it.
I think a big part of it, if it was intentional, is the fact that Kyle Busch knows that they are not good right now, that they do not have any speed right now, and his frustrations are boiling over. You heard him after the race and after the fight. Stenhouse was like, "I'll just wreck you at Charlotte," and he said he doesn't care because he's running just as bad as Stenhouse is. Like, probably the quote of the night there that kind of got overlooked by a lot of people was, that funny little quirk by Busch. But it, and that just adds another storyline heading. And obviously NASCAR is going to hype the shit out of this. Will Stenhouse pay Busch back at Charlotte? Because obviously he should have the chance to. And certainly I honestly, when Ricky said that he was going to be waiting for Busch, after the race, I didn't think he was actually going to do anything. Like, obviously he parked in in Busch's pit box. That made that statement, went up and said some things to his crew, and said he was going to wait, and actually did it, and actually stuck through with it. So that was a surprise to me. So I guess I wouldn't be surprised at all to see Stenhouse, take out Busch in the Coke 600 this weekend.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised either. And here's the thing. Obviously, the Coke 600 mile-and-a-half higher speed. It's maybe not the spot to, but that MGM is offering a head-to-head between these two guys. And I'm sure other books will be as well. So I think that's going to be a fun one. And I'm pretty sure Stenhouse is plus money right now. I need to go look. I'm sure Stenhouse is plus money right now, but this is a really good track for him. Ricky Stenhouse
top
Jr.
10 last year.
Yeah, it's the only non-parlayable head-to-head at BetMGM. But Stenhouse is plus 210 right now.
You have to take Stenhouse there, right?
Yeah, kind of like Ricky Stenhouse Jr. there.
I mean, you say this is a good track for him. I'd say it's even better than that. You look at, this is even going back to the old car, but you look at the last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 points paying races here. He's finished top 15 in 8 of them.
Yeah.
Like that for Ricky Stenhouse Jr. to do that is insanely impressive. Two 7th place finishes here in the next gen era. I feel like that's a bet that you have to make. I mean, just not even based on the storyline, but based on potential speed. I feel like these cars are pretty similar right now.
Yeah, I agree. Especially at the mile-and-a-halfs. Although I will say Rowdy has certainly been better at the mile-and-a-halfs. Like, remember Vegas, he was really good. But Stenhouse has been good at the mile-and-a-halfs, the intermediates as well. Obviously, Texas, he was amazing. Didn't get the result he probably should have had. Was one of the few that could pass at Texas in multiple lanes because Texas turned into a 1-lane track. And, was solid at Dover, etc. So, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. Finished 16th at Kansas. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. could be racing around Kyle Busch this weekend for sure.
Yeah, Stenhouse like that, and I just feel like a head-to-head like that, just mispriced like that. I don't feel like Kyle Busch should be minus 275 there at any track. Yeah. That's just a little. But hey, we'll see. Haven't locked it in yet. I don't know if you have, but definitely leaning toward putting a little bit on that. Mm-hmm. Let's see. What else happened at the All-Star race this weekend?
Well, not a whole lot. I mean, I guess, were you surprised Noah Gragson won the fan vote?
Honestly, yeah. But then I thought, who else was going to win it?
Maybe Bowman. I don't know.
Yeah,
Bowman just
maybe.
So vanilla.
And obviously Hocevar had that, that he was funny. But I don't know. Maybe, I don't know. That's an interesting aspect of it.
Yeah, I didn't really see anybody else who was really a potential fan vote winner. So just one of those things where obviously Gibbs and Bubba Wallace raced their way in, so those two couldn't have been. Yeah. Tough to say. I mean, if it wasn't Gragson, who would have been? Yeah.
Who was even the rest of the top 5? Do you remember?
Hocevar, I think, was in it.
I bet LaJoy was in it, right?
I believe Eric Jones was in it. Maybe. Can't remember. Now I don't even remember. Chase Briscoe, maybe?
Bowman, Gragson, Hocevar, LaJoy, and Bubba Wallace.
Yeah, makes sense.
So, I guess out of those, probably came down to, Hocevar and Gragson.
Yeah. Surprised LaJoy was in the top 5, but
I feel like he's just an underdog that everybody likes now.
He's got his podcast, I guess.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
And that's definitely an aspect of it.
I thought Briscoe would have been in the top 5 potentially. For popularity.
I feel like he's kind of like an Alex Bowman to me. He's so nobody
he's
really
got
knows
a little
him.
more coolness and edge to him, I think, than Bowman. But that's just maybe my perception, having met him at Las Vegas.
It's possible, yeah. But no, I'm pretty sure you favorited my tweet. I basically said, how about we just get rid of the All-Star race and let's take a week off NASCAR, because I don't know. I can't remember the last time, like this whole, I know like Adam Alexander tried to really play up that, they're all racing for $1 million. I think that doesn't get me going to fucking watch this All-Star. I don't care. No. And I don't think the drivers care. Like, what's $1 million to these guys? Like, obviously it's still $1 million, but like, it's not making a big difference.
It like probably means a lot more to Justin Haley than it does to Joey Logano.
Right, but at the same time, Justin Haley's not winning this race.
Exactly. That's the whole point.
So, yeah, it's like, I feel like, I don't know what they can do. Obviously they have the pit crew challenge and all that. That's cool. It gives those guys a little bit of a spotlight, and all the pit crew guys walked out with the drivers and driver introductions, but at the same time that was still cringeworthy because it was like weird ass fucking maze of whatever with no people there. There was nobody there. Like, no. Why are you doing this? I don't get it. And then they all had like hats, which they just awkwardly held on to until they got into the crowd, which was 20 seconds later. I'm like, who thought this and was like, yeah, this is going to look great on TV. It was just, oh man, so just, I couldn't watch it. And then, Adam Alexander making that beat your favorite driver comment about Hamlin, and Hamlin, you could just tell from his face, like, why are you trying so hard? It just doesn't make sense, but yeah, it is what it is. But yeah, so we're on from the All-Star race. Second half of the regular season kicks off with the Coca-Cola 600 this weekend. And obviously the Indy 500 is also this weekend. I want to talk about that first before we go into the Coca-Cola 600, before we get into wine about it. Because I know you're a big IndyCar fan. Kyle Kirkwood looked fast in qualifying, as did Kyle Larson, obviously. Mm-hmm. And that's also, one thing about the All-Star race, and I know you have an opinion on this, and I know you have a pretty strong opinion about this. For the All-Star race, they moved the race back, I think 15 minutes, 20 minutes to give Larson, enough time to potentially, if he was running late from Indy. Yep. And you didn't think that was acceptable. You didn't agree with that.
More so for the points paying races, right? Because the question was from Jeff Gluck was All-Star race or the Coke 600. And that came out before the news that NASCAR did move it back. So I was just reacting to, right, because I was out all day. I was doing stuff. I had basically a Sunday off. So I just saw the tweet and I was like, no, like you can't move it back. And I was more referring to a points paying race because I mentioned specifically Kurt Busch, Robbie Gordon, Tony Stewart, John Andretti. Like, they didn't move it for those guys. Why are you going to move it for Kyle Larson? You can't play favorites like that. And then what does it say to all the other drivers? Okay, well, if you go race in another series, we'll move the starting time back for you. I don't understand how that benefits. I mean, I do in some ways. I understand how it benefits NASCAR because all the eyeballs. But like, if you're going to do it for Kyle Larson, you have to do it for Justin Haley. Do you think if Justin Haley was running an Indy 500, they'd be moving the start time back for him? No. Nope. So why would that be a question? For Kyle Larson, and then you come into playing favorites for Hendrick or Kyle Larson or big name drivers, whatever. But that's not what we should be doing. Every athlete should be treated equally. Yeah. And, it would be like, let's say, Caitlin Clark woke up and found out, she had to go to the hospital for some reason, but would have made it back to the game in time or a little bit after the start time. You think they're going to hold up the game for Caitlin Clark, but not another basketball player? Like, that would be ridiculous. WME's not going to do that. That's just how it goes. So start times are start times, especially for non-exhibition races. I can be okay with an exhibition race, even though we knew the start time of the exhibition race before the season. Even though, NASCAR had all season to move it in case We knew Kyle Larson was be doing the 500 in case he made the Fast Six. Like, why was this not thought about 5 months ago, 4 months ago, when this was all announced for Kyle Larson to do this, and this the NASCAR schedule and the IndyCar schedule? Why didn't you move the start time 15 minutes back 4 months ago?
Because that would require forward thinking, and NASCAR is not very good at that.
Yeah. So, and this is not my line about it, but like, and again, I don't particularly care for the All-Star race, but for a points-paying race, that would be horrible. I mean, that would just affect the integrity of the competition. And I do think with $1 million on the line, I know we say a lot of them don't, whatever, it's $1 million at this point, who cares? But Kyle Larson has a good chance to win $1 million, and now all of a sudden you're giving him the chance to do that. Mm-hmm. That hurts those other drivers and their opportunity to win $1 million who were there on time.
Yeah, it's I honestly couldn't believe when news broke that they did move it back. I'm like, you've got to be kidding. Like, I didn't think they actually would. And obviously, like, Larson got there
plenty early. They didn't even need to move it back.
No, and I don't know.
I didn't really care for the All-Star race. Like I said, I didn't really care, even though I do still think there's a bit of an integrity issue with that, just based off the fact that this is an announced start time and all the drivers and everybody else planned to be there at that time, and one driver wasn't. But for a points-paying race, that would be a huge issue for me if you only did this for one driver or a subset of drivers.
I feel like for a points-paying race, you'd have to. I would prefer that they would poll all the drivers, and if all of them said that they don't care, then I'm good with it. But if one person said that they care, then I'm not good with it. Like, that's my line. Like, if the rest of the field does not care if you move it back 15 minutes, then I'm good with it. Yeah. I don't particularly like it, but I'm fine with it. That's about the only way I'd kind of accept
anonymously poll.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you obviously couldn't put your name to it because. Yeah. But I was listening. I think it was Dale Jr.'s podcast, and they were making the argument that Kyle Larson is now the most popular driver in NASCAR and the face of the sport. Just with how many people are, with his Indy car now racing in the Indy 500 and people following him. The amount of cheers that he's getting. Do you think he has the chance to dethrone Chase Elliott as the most popular driver? Because I still don't think it's even going to be close.
I don't think so. And I think there's going to be enough of a divide, at least among some fans, based off of Kyle Larson's actions, words in that video game. I think that's still going to linger with some people enough permanently that that won't be a thing. And plus, it's Chase Elliott. I mean, Chase Elliott's far and away been the most popular driver year after year since Dale Jr. retired.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But, getting to the Indy...
Difference between face of the sport and popularity, though. I do think he could be the face of the sport right now.
Absolutely. I think he needs another championship to kind of
regardless,
push
I think
him over
the
the
face
edge
of the sport right now.
I would agree with that.
Yeah. I'm not saying most popular. I'm just saying face of the sport.
Yeah, face of the sport for sure. But I'm saying to get to that next level where people that haven't really watched NASCAR know who he is.
Where he transcends it. Yeah.
Yeah. He needs to.
No, I agree with
that.
I'm just saying if you think of who is the face of NASCAR right now.
Yeah.
It's probably Kyle Larson.
I'd agree with that. But like I said, Larson's fast at Indy, as is your boy Kyle Kirkwood. What do you think? What do you think about this upcoming Indy 500? Because it looks like it's going to be a hell of a race.
So, I'm in a bit of a spot where I pay attention to IndyCar year round, even in the off season. I watch every practice. I'm absorbed into IndyCar. I'm part of the community. And I have been since the late 80s. So I see Twitter and I see, people who are NASCAR fans cross over to look at IndyCar, and I see these plainly really bad opinions about, Penske's going to dominate the race. Penske's going to win. I can't see, what. qualifying is so different at Indy than the race, and it might be the race, kind of like Daytona or Talladega. It's not that extreme, but it's one of the few races where qualifying probably means, I wouldn't say the least, but closer to the least in all of racing. You know, I'm not just talking in the IndyCar series. I think it is the single race that means the least in the IndyCar series in terms of, since we don't have these 1.5 miles or 2 mile ovals anymore, like your Kansases or Michigans and stuff, where it meant even less at those. But like at Indy, qualifying doesn't mean a ton. Yes, I understand. Of the last 7 races, 6 of them have been won from inside the top 10, inside the top 9 or 8. But if we go into the DW12 chassis era, which started in 2012, only half the races have been won from inside the top 10. The other half have been won from outside the top 10. So 6 out of 12. So and last year's was won from 17th with Joseph Newgarden, of course, Penske. So just because you're fast in qualifying, just because you have single car speed and in qualifying trim with qualifying boost. Now, the boost is even like, this is something we don't even have in NASCAR, where you actually get more boost, more power to your engine specifically for qualifying because the series lets you. That'd be like NASCAR saying, okay, we're going to run 550 horsepower in the races, but 950 horsepower in qualifying, right? That's equivalent of what IndyCar does. So people who are looking at Team Penske saying they're going to dominate, I don't think, obviously they'll dominate the early part of the race because they're starting on the whole front row, but it matters so much more. Here's the things that matter so much more in the Indy 500. How good are you in the draft / race trim? Can you suck up to cars in front of you? Because if you can, then obviously you can make passes better because the draft is so important in Indy. What mileage are you making? Fuel mileage is monstrous. We don't have stages in the Indy 500. So the Indy 500 always becomes a fuel race. Always. Even if it doesn't end up in a fuel mileage run, the saving part of it matters so much because you can run harder at the end than the guys in front of you if you saved more. That kind of thing. And then, just not fucking up. The Indy 500 is a 500-mile race. The IndyCar teams don't run 500 miles anywhere else. They don't even run close to that anywhere else. And there are so many times where you fuck up a pit stop. You fuck up coming off pit road. Getting off pit road in the Indy 500 is treacherous. We saw it last year. Rinus VeeKay gunned it out of his pit box, spun out, and collected Alex Palou, who was one of the race favorites. We saw this year, or last year, Catherine Legge nearly collect pit crew members just trying to get off pit road. We saw it again. I think it might have been a rookie. One of the rookies, I can't remember which, just in Monday practice, gunned it off pit road and spun out. So it's a very tricky pit road. And there will be crashes, there'll be people. It's going to be it's always a race of attrition. I think no more than, of the 33 cars, I think no more than 22 have finished on the lead lap in the past decade. So, yeah, it's going to be an interesting race. And long shots can win Indy. We've seen 66-1 Alex Rossi win. We've seen 50-1 Takuma Sato win. We saw 33-1 Helio Castroneves win when he was with a lesser team, not when he was with Team Penske. So, yeah, I think people are overrating Team Penske. I think people are overrating the front handful of starters. Honda is completely underrated right now because Chevy dominated qualifying. And like you mentioned, my boy Kyle Kirkwood is severely underrated. He's got a great car and he's severely underrated. He's a bet everybody should be making right now to win.
I was gonna say I'm looking at Superbook right now. I haven't looked across the apps, but he's 25-1, which kind of surprised me. Starting, I think didn't he qualify 6th or 7th?
No, he qualified 11th. He was probably going to be in the top 6 or 7, maybe like 8th at worst. But he forgot to adjust his weight jacker going into turn 3, I think, or turn 1 of the final lap. So it blew his final lap. He was posting laps at 232 plus miles an hour in the first 3 laps. His final lap was like 228 or something. He had to really back out of it to save his car because he forgot to adjust So that's the other thing on like NASCAR, and this is, Kyle Larson talked about this. In NASCAR, the driver doesn't adjust anything. They don't make adjustments. But in IndyCar, you've got your weight jacker, you got your anti-roll bars, you got all sorts of things the driver can adjust, which will mechanically change how the car behaves and change the handling of the car. And Kirkwood just forgot to adjust the jacker going into one of the turns. He either left it down or whatever, and it made the car handle horribly in the turn. He had to save it to keep it off the wall. But he probably would have been 7th, 8th. But again, I don't even care. I don't care if he starts 8th or 11th. It doesn't matter to me.
Right.
What matters is his race car. And last year, Kyle Kirkwood probably had the best race car at the end of the race. He was passing everybody. He was the fastest car in that second to last stint. And in the last stint, he was getting ready to do the same thing. He was about to pass Ferrucci. He was about to pass Rosenquist. Rosenquist spins out, collects Kirkwood. Kirkwood's wheel goes flying over the stands. Kirkwood ends up on his lid. Nothing he can do. Nowhere to go. But Kirkwood probably wins that race if Rosenquist doesn't spin out. So Kirkwood, Herta, they basically have the same car. They basically have the same pace and race trim. And everybody's talking about Colton Herta. For those of us that watched every practice session, the NBC or the Peacock broadcasters were always, Colton this, Colton that. He looks great in this, great. But Kyle was doing the same thing. Herta was just getting the hype. Yeah. So there was a hype component to it. But I think Kyle and Colton would be pretty equal. And if you look around, like Colton's like 13-1 and Kyle's like 25-1 in various places. So I like them both equally. And I do like Colton. I think Colton has a great chance to win this race. And I bet him 20-1 earlier in the week when, the same before practice and qualifying. I bet him, or I shouldn't say before practice qualifying. Before qualifying, I bet him 20-1 because I loved his race trim practice on Thursday. Now I didn't tweet it out, I didn't post it, I didn't track it, I didn't put it in the Discord or anything. I just bet it myself because I just want to save content for this week because I don't want to flood everybody's bets with all sorts of picks and stuff because Indy is a long month. So I bet Colton 20-1 back on Thursday, got the ticket, whatever. But there will be ways to play Colton Herta for the Indy 500. There will be angles to play him, to bet him. And there will be angles to bet Kyle Kirkwood. There will be angles. Heck, there will be angles to bet the Penske cars. I'm telling you right now, I have ways to bet the Penske cars. Not necessarily to win, but I have ways to bet the Penske cars.
So have you bet on Kirkwood yet at 25-1?
I bet him 28 and 25 last week before practice and qualifying. If you find him 25-1 right now, I'm totally fine with betting that again. Or betting if you haven't. Totally fine with that. BetMGM has 30-1 right now on him.
Nice.
So, yep.
I
totally fine with all that.
Yeah, like I don't really watch IndyCar that much. Do they have practice this week as well?
They had practice on Monday, and they'll have the final practice, which is called Carb Day, on Friday.
Okay.
And then they won't touch the cars until the race on Sunday.
Nice. Yeah, this is the only time of the year that I, pay attention to IndyCar, and I feel like I'm a lot of people there. Indy 500, you definitely have to watch it, but it's always fun just to get some money down and have someone to root for.
Yeah, exactly. I will be doing a running hot for Indy 500 tomorrow. So we're recording this Tuesday night. So I'm doing a specific Indy 500 running hot. I'm recording it on Wednesday for Action Network, and hopefully it'll get posted Wednesday. It might get posted Thursday for that, and then there'll be the normal NASCAR running hot as well with me and Stevie TPFL.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, make sure you check that out. Obviously, Nick is well entrenched in the IndyCar world. Scott McLaughlin, the favorite among all sports right now, along with Joseph Newgarden, and then Kyle Larson, which is kind of just amazing. Like, I want to see Larson win just to see the.
Do you want my thoughts on Larson?
Full circle. Yeah.
Do you want my thoughts on Larson?
I do.
It's obviously, I think, if you're a NASCAR fan and NASCAR listener, you want my thoughts on him for the Indy 500. He's going to have a good race. He's Kyle Larson. He can drive anything. It's just really hard to get every nuance down of race day. The pit stops, getting on the pit road, dealing with traffic, and not just... obviously, he's dealt with traffic in practice, but dealing with traffic in practice is different than dealing with traffic in the race, because they're not trying to let you pass. Whereas in practice, they don't really, barring a few exceptions, they don't really care if you pass them in practice. Like I said, get on off pit road, all the buttons on his steering wheel, when to use them, etc., for various things, different race conditions. 40 lap run, when right around that fuel window is probably going to be around 33 laps. But if you really need to save fuel, it could be 40 laps. You could kind of like massively stretch it to 40 laps, but probably more like a 33 lap fuel run. What do your tires do? All that stuff. He's going to have to learn so much. And I know Indy 500 is the best place to learn so much because you get more practice time than any race in the world, basically. But there's still going to be a lot to learn. I think he'll have a very good race. I think he will be outclassed by the top IndyCar regulars, right? Like I see Larson 7.5, 8.5 to 1. And I see Kyle Kirkwood 25 to 1. So if there was a head-to-head between those two, Kyle Kirkwood would obviously be plus money. I would bet the shit out of Kyle Kirkwood plus money versus Kyle Larson. Like, they should be equal. They should just be equal. And honestly, I might slightly favor Kirkwood. Obviously, there could be potential bias since he's my favorite driver, but, like, you get the point. A lot of these top teams, these top drivers, are just kind of equal, and it just, whoever ends up having the right draft at the end there or whatever,
the right strategy.
Yeah. So I think he's overvalued in the market. I think he's going to have a good race, but I definitely think he's overvalued in the market, but I think he'll be strong. Then there's also the issue of, well, does he have to leave? And that makes his betting him even worse. If he has to sub out halfway through a rain delay and have Tony Kanaan replace him and go to the, tail end because they're switching drivers or something in the middle of the race.
Have they said that if it is delayed? And
we don't know yet. That's still all being figured out. There was reports today that maybe they won't do the refresher course for Tony Kanaan, and then if Larson absolutely had to leave, there may not be a replacement driver. He may just have to park the car. So, then we get in these dicey situations because the weather on Sunday for Indy doesn't look great. It looks good enough where we may get part of the race in, but it doesn't look good enough where we can feel confident we'll get the full race in. But we could get enough of the race in to still get it in on Sunday instead of postponing it to Monday. So it's like almost the worst case scenario for Kyle Larson.
Didn't Rick Hendricks basically say that if Larson starts that race and it runs late, he's not, like, he'll miss the Coke 600 if he has to? Don't quote me.
There was
on this,
that interview.
I feel like he said that.
It also depends on what NASCAR decides to do with any potential waiver.
Right.
If Larson doesn't start the race and NASCAR doesn't give him a waiver, he's out of the playoffs.
Oh man, that'd be something. I couldn't see that happening.
But that's the whole thing. We haven't had this happen since Kurt Busch in 2014, and there was no waiver for Kurt Busch in 2014.
That's something to keep an eye on. Like I said, I haven't looked at the weather forecast, but obviously you said it's not looking great.
Yeah. So I don't know. Of course, they had different rules in 2014. Like, there was no waiver thing. It was just like, I don't know. Tough to say. But there are scenarios where, Kyle Larson may have to leave for Charlotte. But I don't know. We don't know how it's all going to play out. It's something to keep an eye on, but that's also a reason to just not bet him until we know that news.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
So that as far as a betting standpoint is something. But it's going to be exciting to watch Kyle Larson in the 600. In the Indy 500. I've always been a big fan of drivers doing the double. Every single one of them. Tony Stewart, Robbie Gordon, John Andretti, Kurt Busch. I've been excited when they do the double. I'm excited for Kyle Larson doing the double. Am I rooting for him to win? Absolutely not. I'm rooting for him to do really well in Indy, but not win. And I'll be very, very happy if he wins the 600 because that'd be so cool. That'd be a great story, but I don't want him to win the Indy 500. I want the drivers I bet on, which includes Kyle Kirkwood, obviously my favorite driver, to win the Indy 500.
I want to see Larson win both. I want to know how many Larson parlays are out there.
Oh, there's going to be so many. The books will be absolutely destroyed if that happens.
Yeah. Yeah. because I mean he's the favorite to win the Coke 600, and obviously, one of the favorites to win Indy. But I'm sure there's plenty of people plunking money down on that little parlay like that. Try to get a Larson.
It's just going to be a great Indy 500. The DW12 car, the chassis, which was again started in 2012. Dan Weldon helped develop it. That's why it's called DW, Dan Weldon 12, because it debuted in 2012. Has produced amazing Indy 500 racing, absolutely amazing. And the other thing is, IndyCar has said, just like last year, they had 3 red flags. They're going to do everything they can, even if it's a one lap, not a green, white checkered, just a white checkered, to get a green finish. And so, that's going to make things pretty wild as well. Looking forward to just so much. And I can't wait for books to start posting head-to-head matchups because I feel like I have an exceptionally good grasp of the Indy 500 this year. And I'm so ready for this race. It's my favorite race in the world, my favorite series in the world. I just, it's exciting. It's exciting. And of course the Coke 600 is exciting as well. And there's Monaco. There's Monaco. It's Formula 1 these days. Yeah. Probably the worst possible race you could have on the best day of racing, simply because passing at Monaco is harder than passing at a Martinsville right now.
I will note that the last weekend's F1 race actually got a little bit interesting there at the end, between Verstappen and I don't even know the other guy's name. Whoever finished second.
I don't even know. I didn't pay attention to that one.
The only other winner
Lando Norris. Lando Norris.
There we go.
Yeah.
There we go.
I remember Norris won Miami, but I didn't see the Italian Grand Prix or whatever it's called.
Yeah. It got interesting there at the end. So can't say that very often about F1.
Yeah. Not the Italian Grand Prix. It's just whatever it is called. It's in Italy, but it's not officially the Italian Grand Prix. Kind of like there's 3 U.S. races, so they can't all be the U.S. Grand Prix.
Yeah.
But, Yeah, Verstappen's having a classic Verstappen year. I mean, that's going to lead right into wine about it, I think.
It is. I need to go get a beer, so I'm going to let you go first.
All right, so
here with wine about it.
Presented by Luvabella Wines. Also, make sure to check out Brew Kettle with their amazing selection of beers for those of you in that area. But I'm going back to just the Passion Lemonade for my wine about it. So let me do the whole ASMR thing here and open the bottle, play with the bottle. And then, again, I don't have a cup here, so I'm just going to drink straight out of the bottle into the microphone. But it is the Passion Lemonade. It's around 10% alcohol by volume, and it's very good, very good. But my wine about it this week is, so I guess it was maybe Jenna Fryer who tweeted about an article with like the debate is between like who's the best driver in the world, Kyle Larson or Max Verstappen. Like that's the debate apparently. And yeah, so Kyle Larson, here's her tweet. Kyle Larson enters conversation with Max Verstappen as best drivers in the world. So everybody over the last 24 hours, everybody and their brother has been posting their opinion on who's the best driver in the world. And there's been all sorts of opinions. Everyone you'd expect, including the ill-informed. I've seen ones where, well, you can't be the best driver in the world if you only turn left. Well, obviously Kyle Larson doesn't only turn left, so it's the stupid Europeans that are making those opinions. That's not what I'm whining about. I'm whining about who fucking cares? Like, why are we so worked up about, is it Verstappen? Is it Larson? Don't give a shit, dude. Like, who cares? Who fucking cares? And there's only going to be one way to determine who the best drivers in the world, and that's put them in the same equipment, in the same car, all the best drivers, and do it in like 5 different types of cars or whatever. You know?
Yeah.
8 there. There's no way to settle this debate. So we're all just wasting our goddamn breath, bitching and whining about something that we can't even settle anyway. And it's flooding my Twitter timeline, and I'm sick of it. That's my line about it. It's short, it's sweet, it's to the point. But oh my God, it's insufferable.
Yeah.
It's insufferable.
And also, like, when you first brought it up, I'm sure you saw my face. Also, you're all welcome for me muting my mic when I was eating that pickle spear, because when I first took a bite, I was like, "This is gonna be loud as shit if I'm right next to it."
Oh man, I wish you'd kept it unmuted. I'm all about some crunchy pickle spears.
Oh, I love pickle spears, but
yeah, no, I was gonna say, because you're mentioning Verstappen, or I guess my mentioning Formula One and you mentioning Verstappen, it actually perfectly led into whine about it.
Yeah. But I feel like that's not even, to me, it's not even a debate because of how much the car matters more in F1 than it does in NASCAR. Like, I feel like you could put most drivers in Verstappen's car and they're going to probably have a chance to win it.
I agree with that.
Like, so when you have that much of an advantage with your equipment, I feel like part of the being the best driver in the world isn't.
I think part of the debate is look how much Verstappen is just clapping his teammate. No rhyme intended, but look how much Verstappen is clapping his teammate every year by a ton. But he hasn't had Kyle Larson as his teammate, right? And Kyle Larson hasn't had a chance to get up to speed in these cars, or Tyler Reddick on a road course, or whatever. Put Max Verstappen on an oval in a Hendrick car. There's no way to know. There's no way. There's absolutely no way. And that doesn't even put guys like Scott Dix and Alex Palou into the debate, who arguably could be the best in the world right now. What determines the best? Is it diversity? Is it best in your single discipline? What is it? I don't fucking care. Get it all off my timeline, because we're not going to settle it, and it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. It's so dumb.
It's such a waste of emotion and energy, and I don't care. I just don't care who the best driver in the world is.
Yeah.
That's it. That's all I got. Obviously it's the All-Star race. There isn't a ton to whine about. There's the fight. We could whine about the car like we always whine about. We could whine about TV coverage like we always whine about. The only other thing I have to whine about is Caesars but it's an Indy 500 whine about it. Why are you going to post Romain Grosjean over under 30.5 finishing position and then not take any bets on it?
Because that's Caesars.
Yeah. Move the line, but not take bets. Move the line, not take bets. Take it off the board and then never post it again. I was legitimately trying to get like 10K on it, on under 30.5, because that would be like saying, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. over under 32.5 finishing position in the Coke 600.
Really?
That's the equivalent.
It was that mispriced.
There's only 33 cars in the Indy 500, and
oh god, yeah, good point.
There's a ton of cautions every year, right? So if every car had equal odds of just crashing out or some kind of mechanical to set them out of the race, 33 cars, all he needs to do is not be one of the bottom 3. So that's 1/11th of the field. So fair odds on that should probably be like minus 900 to be over 30.5. And plus 900, or sorry, minus 900 to be under 30.5, and plus 900 to be over 30.5, something like that, And it was minus 115 each way. I'm like, I'm just gonna load up everything onto this and try to bet it, and I just kept getting rejected. The line would move as I'm betting it, taken off the board, reposted at a lower number, rejected, and then they just pulled the line completely, and it's never been reposted since.
I was gonna say, when I saw your tweet, and then I went to look at it a little, see if it was on there, and there was only 3 drivers on there, because
there was 4
Caesars
and now there's 3. Yeah, there was 4.
So fucking stupid.
3. Yeah, so that would be my other one about it, but
Right.
It's the same stuff. Like why are sports books
the
being
Caesars
fucking
app.
stupid? Yeah. Here's another one. Like, okay, I got a triple one about it. BetMGM Nevada still has not posted Indy 500 lines, but outside of Nevada has had Indy 500 lines for weeks.
That's just
makes no sense.
Weird. Yeah. Weird. All right. My wine about it. Look what I got.
Ooh. Got the
Monaco chocolate peanut butter stout.
Peanut butter stout.
Yep. It's been a while since I had one of these. I've been saving them.
I'll crack to that since I just finished a
very good beer. As Nick said, the Brew Kettle, make sure you check them out. Great little brewery here in Ohio, as well as Luvabella Winery, two big supporters of this podcast. And yeah, this beer is so good. I don't like the IPA that they make, but I like these dark beers, and this one's very good. My wine about it. I don't know. I feel so weird. So these past few days, Saturday was the first day I've had in probably 5 months, that I did not have a single thing I absolutely had to get done that day. Like, I didn't know what to do with myself.
Right.
I went crazy. I didn't know what to fucking do with myself. And that's what I feel like these last couple weeks with Wine About It, because I didn't have anything last week to whine about. I don't have anything this week to whine about.
Remember, like 2 weeks ago or whatever, I had like a anti-wine about it.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, this. I don't know if we're turning a new leaf or what's going on with us, but we are becoming the people that aren't complaining.
Yeah.
But I guess my forced whine about it will be people thinking that Stenhouse made good contact with Kyle Busch's face, because that punch was weak. That was such a weak punch. And it was also just like it looked so. He just wanted to punch to throw a punch. Like, take a look at the camera. Boom. Like, what? Why are you throwing a punch there? Like, I get it. You wanted to hit the guy.
Yeah.
You couldn't find a better time to throw a punch. Like,
you should just hit him right at the start.
He should have. Like, and that was the best part of it, when that shot of Stenhouse just standing by the tires waiting for him. Fucking frame that. That was hilarious. But yeah, just there were so many better parts of that fight. Like the guy that got the people off of the truck trailer and was screaming, get off the truck. Holy shit, you do not want to fuck with that guy. And that was the big takeaway I got from that, is I want that guy in my corner every single time. But yeah, I don't know. I like when drivers, I don't root for fighting, but I like when it happens, I guess, when there's drama.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And I'm curious to see how this transpires. I'm also curious to see if anything happens to Stenhouse's dad, because he got hit by fucking Kyle Busch, and he he was in the wrong there. In my opinion, for what was going on, and staying involved there, and putting his hands on Busch. So that'll be interesting to see. But that's my mind about it. My whatever you want to call it. I'm gonna drink my beer now.
I can get a little controversial with a backup line about it. Extra backup one about it. But yeah, I'm with you. I think what transpired, right? So you mentioned Stenhouse's dad, and then I remembered, well, they haven't announced penalties yet for this week, and they're announcing them Wednesday instead of Tuesday because of the Hall of Fame induction. So there hasn't been any announcement of penalties yet from this past week. But I'm curious, does Stenhouse Jr.'s dad get his card pulled, or I don't know how it all works, banned from pit areas or whatever, garages, I don't know. But then it made me think about the Hall of Fame. And do you see who the recipients of the Hall of Fame were? as far as like getting in from the modern ballot was Ricky Rudd and Carl Edwards.
Yeah, I guess I was surprised that Rudd was in the modern ballot. To me, it doesn't, like, when I think of modern, I don't think of Ricky Rudd.
Well, I mean, Ricky Rudd
maybe I
raced
just
in the
don't know
mid-90s, you know, like in the early 2000s.
He raced in the 2000s?
He raced in 2007, almost a full season. He didn't race in 5 races. But yeah, I mean, Ricky Rudd
shows how good my memory
was a staple of my childhood, right? Like, I grew up with watching Ricky Rudd. And I love Ricky Rudd. Love the guy. Loved when he won. And he had a consecutive win season streak there that was going for a long time, which I think ended in 1999 when he didn't win a race. It was the first year since 1983 that he didn't win a race. It was something like 15, 16 years of consecutive years with at least one race won. But, he still ended up getting wins 2001, 2002. He won Sonoma in 2002. And that was his last win, but he raced all the way until 2007 in the Cup Series. But why is Ricky Rudd a Hall of Famer? He's never won a championship. Best finish in the championship was second in 1991. He never was like a big multi-time winner. I mean, he only has 23 wins in his career, even though he did, like 15 or 16 consecutive seasons of wins. That means he's not winning more than like 2 races a season. And a lot of seasons, especially later in his career, were 0 wins. It doesn't make sense why he's in the Hall of Fame. He won 23 races in 906 starts. At least Carl Edwards, right?
I was just about to say, Carl Edwards only has 28 wins.
But in half the starts, less than half the starts.
Right.
He has more wins than Ricky Rudd in less than half the starts. So at least he has that going for him. But I don't think Carl Edwards should be a Hall of Famer. I don't think anybody in this class necessarily should have been voted in the Hall of Fame. I think we're at the point where maybe we just got to go kind of like Major League Baseball style and say you need to get 80% of the vote. We're not guaranteeing spots in the Hall of Fame anymore.
I've long thought that. I
started to think it last year, but I'm at the point now where if you're nominating, if Ricky Rudd and Carl Edwards get in the Hall of Fame, we got to change the process.
Yeah. Now we're just adding people to add people.
Yep.
You look at the votes from this. Ricky Rudd received 87% of the modern era ballot votes. Edwards received 52%. So Edwards gets 52% and he gets in by getting 52% of the vote,
which is crazy because I would put Edwards in over Ricky Rudd.
But I don't think either of them are worthy.
I agree. That's the whole point.
Yeah.
I'm saying if I had to choose between the two, I'd put Edwards in over Ricky Rudd. And I love Ricky Rudd. Like I said, I think both drivers are amazing drivers. We're talking the Hall of Fame, not the Hall of Very Good. Fame.
Yeah, exactly.
And there's lots of, I understand, Dale Jr. will be whatever in the Hall of Fame because he brings fame. He's the most popular driver. He's done so much for the sport. There's a difference between performance and fame. And maybe Ricky Rudd is closer to ticking the fame box than Carl Edwards. I think I think if you're a young millennial or whatever the generation is younger than millennial, like maybe you're more inclined to like Carl Edwards and think he's famous or awesome. But like for a guy who's been around since, since 80s, 90s watching NASCAR, like I don't think of Carl Edwards as one of the great drivers of NASCAR.
If Carl Edwards didn't do a backflip every time he won, how memorable would he be?
The only thing he did was he tied with Tony Stewart for the championship and lost on a tiebreaker.
And he retired out of complete nowhere. Those are the only two qualities of Carl Edwards that are memorable.
That almost helped his Hall of Fame candidacy.
Right?
The myth, the legacy. Carl Edwards finished in 2012, a few years before he retired. 2012, Carl Edwards was how old? He was 33. That's like prime NASCAR. He finished 15th in the standings, 0 wins. The next year he finished 13th in the standings. Next year he finished 9th in the standings. Then he went over to Joe Gibbs Racing and finished 5th and 4th. In JGR equipment, he finished 5th and 4th. Like, yeah, he obviously could have won the title, but he only had 5 wins for JGR in 2 seasons. And the only reason I say only is because Denny Hamlin had like 8 or 9 wins in 1 year with JGR, you know? It's just one of those things where I don't see the fame in Carl Edwards. You go down to the Nationwide series back then when he raced in Nationwide. It was before it was Xfinity. Yeah, he finished 3rd, 2nd, 1st, 2nd in the championship. And then in 2011 dominated Xfinity as well, but that's when they made it no longer eligible for these guys to run for the championship. But it's Xfinity. I don't give a shit about that. I want to know what you did at the top level. That's what's fame for me. Unless you're like one of these truck guys that holds the all-time truck record, you know, or holds the all-time Xfinity level record, that kind of stuff. And I just don't care. So I was a little disappointed in the Hall of Fame results.
How insane is it, looking back at 2008, Carl Edwards didn't win the championship that year. 9 wins, 19 top 5s, 27 top 10s, and he still lost to Jimmy Johnson that year in the points by 69.
Yep.
Now, obviously, that was the old points format, not the point per position. But to put that stat line up and still finish second in points, man, that is,
and that's a point for him in the Hall of Fame, of course.
That is, yes. Because you look at and I still don't even know how this happened. Because, like I said, Edwards' stat line that year was 9, 19, 27 wins, top 5s, top 10s. Johnson's was 7, 15, 22. How does that happen?
The 10 race chase, you know.
Oh yeah, that was the chase years, wasn't it?
Yep, 10 race.
As you can tell, my memory is not amazing tonight.
So, Jimmy Johnson had 83 wins in 692 starts. That's a 12% win rate. 11.99% win rate in the Cup Series. Carl Edwards had 28 wins in 445. That's 6.29%. That's basically half of Jimmy Johnson's win rate. Denny Hamlin's at 8.15%. I'm just not there. I'm just not there in Carl Edwards even getting in the Hall of Fame. I do think he should have had it over Ricky Rudd, and I'm a little bit surprised by the percent splits there with Rudd getting in the 80s and Edwards in the 50%, but I don't think either of them should be in the Hall of Fame.
Refresh my memory how the chase worked in
it was
08.
Just 10 races. Who had most points at the end of those 10 races? Occasionally there would be where you finished or how many wins you had would get you 10 points at the start. But overall, everybody got reset to 2,000 points. I think it was every win you had, you got 10 points in the start of the chase. So if you had 5 wins in the regular season, you started 2,050 points instead of 2,000 points. And then it was just a 10 race point season.
Okay. Yeah, looking at the 10 races, the final 10 races that year, Edwards finished 4th or better in all but 2 of them.
Yep.
And he won 3 of the last 4.
Yep.
And still didn't win a championship. That's just
because he had
wild.
2 really bad finishes.
Yep, 2 really bad ones. Damn. And Johnson didn't finish worse than 15th that entire time.
Yeah, he had
Holy
3
shit.
wins in 2 seconds. So, yep.
Huh. Yeah, I'm with you though. I was, when I saw Carl Edwards got in, I'm like, I'm not surprised because of how the Hall of Fame is, but at the same time, I don't think he's deserving.
Exactly.
Oh.
I agree with all that.
Thank you to Luva Bella Winery and the Brew Kettle, as always, for sponsoring this podcast. Make sure you check them out. As always, links are in the description. And we are on to the Coca-Cola 600 and Charlotte. Race number 14 of the season, second half of the regular season kicking off. Ryan Blaney in victory lane in this race. Last year, obviously a big hit for you, Nick. I think you had him 30-1, if I remember correctly, to win that race. Ford coming on strong. Ford won the All-Star race. Ford has won the last two. Ford won at Darlington. And probably should have won at Kansas.
Yep.
But you get what Ford is coming on strong right now. What do you think about the Ford's chances this weekend in the Coca-Cola 600? Best odds when it comes to the betting sports books. Blaney's at 10-1 at BetMGM. Keselowski's at 12-1. Buscher's at 14-1. And then we got Logano sitting at 25-1. Think RFK can do it again? For the second actual race in a row?
Yeah, they definitely can. And per PJ Walsh, my colleague at Action Network, he messaged me on Wednesday, and he said on Denny Hamlin's podcast, Actions Detrimental, Denny mentioned the rumor in the garage is RFK got an engine upgrade recently, which is correlated with their speed on intermediates recently. So could be a big boost for RFK. Still, with that potential engine upgrade, rumored engine upgrade, I could say. But it's I think it's
they definitely have something. They either found something or they got something, because those RFK cars have been crazy fast lately.
I agree with that, but they've also generally been fast at these tracks recently anyway. Like even last year, Keselowski's always been good at Darlington. We saw Buescher nearly win Michigan,
and we went through that
stretch of races.
We went through that stretch of races where RFK typically is a little bit slower. Like obviously those guys are usually pretty good at like Richmond, but that overall stretch of races that we had, they're typically not the best. So yeah, there's also that aspect of it.
And then there's the whole the Fords came to life at night at Kansas, that kind of thing. So yeah, RFK can definitely win this race, definitely. But so can a lot of other drivers.
Am I betting Keselowski at 12? No.
Am
I betting Buescher at 14? No.
And I like them. Again, this is another week where I find it tough to bet outrights, just like with Darlington. Remember, I loved Keselowski. That's why I had him 36 for 36 at Darlington. I loved him. But I could not bet him at his price for Darlington. I wish I did, obviously, hindsight 2020, but I had him 5% to win, and he's 18-1. That's just not... 5% is high for Keselowski. Like, normally he's 3 or 4%, right? So, I loved Keselowski at Darlington. This is another race where I don't have a ton of outright value. I'm not saying I have none, because I do. I just don't have a ton, The books are on point this year, especially, in these intermediate tracks, which are a little more, I shouldn't say predictable, but easier to know who's going to be good. I don't think the Coca-Cola 600 is going to be predictable because it's the longest race of the year. We always see crazy shit happen here in the next gen era. But yeah, I just find it hard to bet outrights. This might be another good week to focus on top 10. Your bread and butter, Jordan. Top 10 type bets, matchups, those kinds of things.
Yeah, I looking at the outright winner betting board, not seeing a ton out there. Obviously, there's some if you had to bet, I don't mind taking Byron at 10 or Truex at 11.
Yeah, I don't mind those at all.
But I haven't made any outright bets, and I don't plan to. I'm not seeing anything out there that I love.
So another great race to live bet, right?
Yep.
Like you get into stage 3.
That's also another thing. There's 4 stages this race.
Yeah, and you have the chance to evaluate the first 2 or 3 stages. Get into stage 3, early stage 4, and you see who's fast. You see how the race is playing out. Is it chaotic? Is it not? That can help you with your live betting process right there.
Yeah, and that's another aspect of this being such a long race is that things are going to change quite a bit. Like we're going to see people coming and going probably. Obviously, there's going to be, we've seen it where, Larson or Truex has led this thing pretty much from start to finish. Mm-hmm. We're always going to have that potential. But at the same time, we're going to see cars that are fast during the day that slow down during night and vice versa. Yeah. So there's that aspect of it. As far as, long shots, though, you talked about Ricky Stenhouse Jr., always good here at Charlotte. Any other guys that are kind of piquing your interest this weekend when it comes to, potentially, challenging for a surprise top 5, maybe a top 10? I will note that I enjoy seeing this because, we're both Todd Gilliland fans. Mm-hmm. He has shorter odds to top 10 this week than Ricky Stenhouse Jr. does, who has an incredible record at Charlotte. So that is just something I think is cool. Again, not recommending to bet Todd Gilliland top 10 this week, but plus 325, he's plus 260 on Caesars compared to plus 375 for Stenhouse. So, noteworthy there for Mr. Gilliland.
I'm on the Chase Briscoe train this week.
Okay.
Love Chase Briscoe. He finished 4th in 2022. That was the year you and I had Denny Hamlin to win, and he won. And PJ had Kyle Busch, and Kyle Busch did not win. and you became a Denny Hamlin fan after all those years of hate.
Yep.
But I love Chase Briscoe. He finished 4th. He finished at Texas earlier this year 6th, which is pretty comparable to Charlotte. Certainly the one grooveness isn't as good, but the tire wear kind of aspect of it is fine. So I think Chase Briscoe in it, 5-1 at Bet365 for a top 10 is an interesting bet there. So I don't have a ton of thoughts on this race as far as like bets. There's not a ton I love out there right now based off the outrights and based off of, how all the other markets are adjusted off of the outrights. But I do like Chase Briscoe, and 30-1 for a top forward is kind of interesting. I like the forwards, but they're a little short overall, which just sucks because before Kansas, I was like so ready to bet the forwards for this race. And then they show up at Kansas, especially because it turned into night and the forwards were good. Darlington's, like a few of the Ford drivers were just good there. And it kind of killed the Ford value. So that sucks. So it made it even harder to bet this race, or makes it harder, I should say. But I don't know. I don't have a ton out there that I love, but I'm pretty high on Chase Briscoe for a top 10 finish is probably my favorite bet at this point. The line will move just because we put this podcast out. The line's going to move. But I can tell you right now, I'm going to have Chase Briscoe top 10 in multiple pieces of content this week.
What do you think about Daniel Suarez 4-1 for a top 10? He was one of, going back to that race that Hamlin won, you were big on Suarez in that race.
Yeah.
Has been strong here in the past. Obviously, the next gen car hasn't been great, 23rd and 25th. He did get into a wreck in that 2022 race, though.
Yep. But I do like him. The thing is, I saw, and this was again from Jim Sonis, he messaged me, and I guess there was an article or an interview with Suarez where they admitted they were testing.
Oh.
So that, certainly changes things. He also said that while they've been testing, they still aren't where they want to be as a team. Like you look at Ross, he hasn't had the results he's wanted either. So tough to say. And I actually think there's a chance I shouldn't say don't test, but like try to get back on track a little bit given how poor they have been at intermediates. So I don't hate Daniel Suarez. Plus 450 at Bet365 for a top 10 finish.
Yeah, he finished 5th at Texas. Obviously, big part of that was track position, getting it late. You know, his driver rating in that race was 63.8, so he didn't run top 5 all day. But you know, that's one that kind of stuck out to me just looking at the odds here. But even like a Stenhouse plus 375, not particularly liking that.
Plus 450 at Bet 365.
Is it?
Yeah.
I wish 365 would show up here on my. I just have Action Network up. I'm sure it's probably in my settings to switch that up. But I guess I can pull the app up, can I?
Yeah, I just pulled Bet 365's website up. Yeah, I think you were just mentioning Hocevar.
Yeah, Hocevar finished 10th at I want to say Texas. I could be wrong. Maybe it was Kansas.
Won Charlotte, or I should say dominated Charlotte in the Xfinity Series, Truck Series in 2022. Other finishes, before he finished 16th, got into a little bit of a deal there, finished 16th. But other finishes at Charlotte were 2nd and 4th in the Truck Series. So very good track for Carson Hocevar. 8th in the Xfinity Series as well in his one of his 5 Xfinity starts. Second best Xfinity finish aside from Darlington, which is another great track for him. So Charlotte, great Hocevar track. I do like 12-1 for a top 10 finish on Carson Hocevar.
There we go. I got it up now. Yeah, Hocevar 12-1. Yeah, best everywhere else. It looks like 365 has the best top 10 odds right now because Hocevar is plus 750 at Caesars, and that's the best as far as the other. Yeah, Briscoe's sitting there 5-1 for a top 10.
You know what's going to end up happening with me? I'm going to end up betting Zane Smith at 16-1 for top 10. Remember Texas when he had a top 10 car? Like legitimately just had a top 10 car, got screwed by the pit strategy there at the end. With the, a bunch of people stayed out late. He came in normal pit sequence, got trapped the lap down and never got the lap back. But he was running in top 5 most of that second half of the race. Guess where his only Cup Series top 10 finishes? Charlotte. With Front Row Motorsports last year.
Front Row Motorsports, yep.
Love Zane Smith top 10. 16-1.
What do we think about man, I'm really liking Briscoe 5-1.
Yeah,
you talked me into that a lot.
I love Briscoe 5-1. Like I said, it's probably gonna be my favorite bet of the week. And then really like Hocevar and Zane as my other top 10 bets.
One guy,
and I'm wearing the Zane Smith shirt. Damn it! I didn't even think about that. Yeah, I really like Zane Smith top 10. He had a top 10 car at Las Vegas, didn't get to show it. Remember he crashed in lap 4. Wasn't very good at Kansas, but Texas.
Oh, do I remember, Nick?
We all remember Vegas, yes. Wasn't great at Kansas, but had a top 10 car at Texas, potentially, probably. Very, very good at Texas. At worst, like a top 15 car, which if you're 16-1 and you have a top 15 car, that's well worth it.
Right.
I
just can't do it.
I love Zane Smith. I love Zane Smith here.
Zane Smith's on my dead list. And it's going to take a lot for him to get off of it.
But that's one of those I'd rather bet him before or when he hits it rather than after he hits it, you know?
That's true. And at 16-1, yeah. You
can bet a quarter unit on that, win 4 units, right?
Yeah.
Or you lose a quarter unit. It's not like you're betting the house.
Yeah. What do we think of someone like a John Hunter Nemechek at 18-1?
Remember, I liked John Hunter Nemechek. I think I chose him for as my 36 for 36 driver at what was it? I'm pulling it up here.
Texas,
yeah. He shit the bed.
Yep.
He finished pretty bad, but he also wasn't great. Like he was just like 18th all day, which isn't. Again, it's not bad for him this year, but it wasn't as good as I expected. And like Legacy overall just hasn't been as good as maybe potentially they could be given the transition to Toyota, you know? So I don't hate it. I certainly don't hate John Hunter Nemechek 18-1 for top 10. I think it is probably worth a bet. But I honestly think I prefer Zane based off the speed I've seen this year at mile and a half.
One more guy in that range that kind of piques my interest. Talked about the RFK cars, potentially finding more. Justin Haley also sitting at 18-1.
Yep.
9th at Darlington, 18th at Kansas.
Mm-hmm.
If you can get track position late, I don't hate Justin Haley at 18-1.
My issue is I'm not really worried about Darlington because it's such a unique track or driving style. So I more go off of Kansas, Vegas, Texas, and I prefer Zane and JHN to Haley when we look at those tracks. In the same price range-ish.
Yeah.
Know?
What about guys, couple guys that aren't full-timers this week? Jimmy Johnson's in this race, as is SVG. Any likes there?
No. What's the point? I definitely prefer John Hunter Nemechek to Jimmy Johnson. 18 versus 16. I think they're relatively equal. Might give a slight edge to John Hunter Nemechek, but just give me the longer odds of those two guys. And yeah.
Has Jimmy Johnson finished a race in the next gen era?
Yes.
He hasn't finished better than 28th.
He still has finished.
Yeah. Last year, 31st, 38th, 37th. This year, 28th, 29th, 28th, 38th.
Yeah. It's not gone well.
No.
Let's put it that way.
Absolutely not. And then obviously SVG is going to be in a College car. So I think. He's not racing a Trackhouse car, is he?
SVG is in the 16 for College.
Okay.
Of course, like Zane Smith, you never know if there's a random alliance there where Trackhouse is building the car or supplying whatever, you know. Because SVG is, just like Zane Smith, is under contract with Trackhouse. Yeah, I mean, that goes right back to the silly season stuff. Like the Stewart Haas drivers, I'm sure you've seen reports on that. They're as clueless as we are as to what's going on. Probably not actually, but relatively speaking, they're pretty clueless.
I don't know. They probably could be with that whole, the study session and Priest not knowing what the hell's going on. Like maybe they're just as clueless as we are. That at this point, it honestly wouldn't surprise me.
I agree.
But yeah, Larson the favorite. Typical guys up front when it comes to who's expected to win this race. I don't really know what else to say about the Coke 600.
I agree. I mean, we know it gets a little crazy in the next gen era. It's a long race. There's more bad things, I guess, that can happen than typical. But yeah, I'm not really like I said, I think the outright market's pretty efficient.
Mm-hmm.
So we're just trying to look for value elsewhere. Yeah, I don't have a ton to say about it. There was in 2023, this race had 16 cautions. In 2022, this race had 18 cautions. So be ready for some cautions.
Dear God. What the hell's the over-under on cautions this week?
I haven't seen anything yet, but I've been keeping my eye out.
18? I did not realize that there was that much.
Oh,
obviously,
you and PJ, remember we were hanging out? We got so fucking hammered because the race never ended. So we just didn't stop drinking because the race never ended.
What? How many cautions were at Texas this year?
16.
Okay. Number of lead changes is set at 27.5.
Where?
Caesars.
I don't see a number of lead changes. I see, is that under props? Total cautions 11.5 is the line.
Where's that?
Caesars. I found the number of lead changes. But yeah, total cautions. You have to like do the fucking click on the name of the race and then go over to props.
See, it's not in there for me. I got lead changes, speed of race, and margin of victory.
I have margin of victory, speed of race, and lead changes, and I have cautions. So yeah, it must be the state. Like, makes no sense. Straight back to whine about it. Makes no sense.
Yep.
Whatever. But I see over under 11.5 at Caesars. I can't really go off a 2-race sample size, but if you go off Texas and Charlotte, you kind of just have to take the over almost blindly, right?
I was going to say that. And, okay. Piggybacking off of that, drivers not completing 200 laps over 2.5.
Yeah,
Four of them did not complete 200 laps last year.
Mm-hmm. And in 2022,
9.
Yeah, I was gonna say it was more.
9.
Yeah. But what about Texas earlier this year? This is where I'm like frantically searching these random things.
200 laps would be half the race, and that was 4. 3.
Fort Texas didn't even complete 200 laps though, right? Because I'm not worried about half the race. I'm worried about number of laps.
200 laps. Yeah.
Yeah, because 200 laps is 300 miles. So 300 miles at Texas, it was 4 that didn't complete 300 miles.
Yep. I don't love the minus 140, but if I had to bet something, I think it'd be that. Plus the cautions.
And the cautions, yeah. Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah. If it ever shows up for me.
I agree with both of those.
Yeah.
Well, and that's the thing. That was 2024 Texas. Let me look at 2023 Texas. 4 drivers didn't even complete 78 laps in 2023 Texas. And 2022 Texas was the shit fest of tires, where I guarantee that didn't happen. So then add in Kansas, right? Like a crazy track like Kansas. Like Vegas is definitely the most boring at the 1.5 miles in terms of like action, cautions, whatever, you know. Even though it produces great racing, it is the most, air quote, boring in terms of the potential for calamity. But like if you look at Kansas, Charlotte, and Texas, all of these are suggesting just overs on the chaos.
How many cautions were at Kansas?
Or this year? That's a great question.
I want to say it was quite a bit because we had that start of stage 3. We had like 5.
It was 7 cautions.
Okay.
And only Cindric and Jimmy Johnson did not complete 200 laps. But again, Kansas is so different.
Yeah.
And there still was chaos at Kansas. It just came all in stage 3.
Yeah, I'm liking that. Cautions bet.
Me too.
All right, time for picks to win and 36 for 36. I get to go first on both. Hell yeah.
Sir. Did we do all-star picks to win? Didn't I pick like Ty Gibbs or some bullshit?
Yeah, you picked Ty Gibbs. You got the Open right.
Yeah,
and I had Hamlin.
Come on, that counts, right? You won a race this weekend, technically,
right? Oh boy! All right, I got to get back on the good finish train here because I had Truex at Darlington. He finished 25th. Plus, you have 2 wins this year, and I only have 1. I haven't had a win since Richmond when Hamlin won it, and that was a luck win, actually, wasn't it?
A luck win.
Let's see.
It sounds like the luck rankings. That was a luck win.
Right? Give me let's see here. Who's going to win this race? Give me This is like a dramatic. I'm just adding drama to this. Give me Martin Truex Jr.
Oh, that's who I was going to take. I'm taking Martin Truex Jr. This is the first time we've ever picked the same driver.
First time ever we are picking the same.
That's crazy. I was literally going to pick Martin Truex Jr. I love it.
That's funny. Mark it down on this is like episode 105. First time we've ever made the same pick to win. That means he's definitely winning, right? Like unload the bank account on True. I'm just kidding. Don't do
or
that.
He's finishing 39th.
yeah. First blow the engine on the pace laps.
Yeah, we didn't even talk about that, but yeah, JJ Yaley is going to be in this race in the 44 New York racing car. Ty Dillon's going to be in this race in the 50, no longer money team car because Mayweather's not involved, but essentially the same team. And then Jimmy Johnson is the other open car. So 39 cars in this race.
Plus SVG. Yeah.
Yeah, in the 16, which is a full-time car. Yeah.
I'm just glad that David Starr's not in this race. He is running the Xfinity race, though.
Yeah.
Is the 44 actually going to run, though? Isn't that the team that typically
ran at
says
Vegas.
they're going to race?
They ran at Vegas. They ran the whole race at Vegas. They were slow as shit, but they ran the race.
Yeah. Driver rating of 26.3.
Yep. They were slow as shit. Like, it was funny watching them versus the field, like in person. Because I was like, and you could just hear they don't even sound as fast or loud or whatever you want to call it.
Just like David Starr. Yeah. Yeah, David Starr at Martinsville, my buddy that went with me, he pointed out he's never watched NASCAR in his life. And he's like, what the hell's wrong with that 66 car? And I'm like, don't get me started.
Yeah, no, don't.
Do not get me started. All right. We both got Truex for the picks to win. On to 36 for 36. Flashing back to last week, if you missed that episode, Nick gained 46 points at Darlington. So gap now is 31 points. I need to get through this portion of the schedule where you have a lot more good drivers to pick from. I need to just like maintain here, I believe. And I'm going to go with a guy that we've talked about quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
Give me Ricky Stenhouse Jr. at Charlotte.
Wow.
I know this is risky.
I'm surprised because, Dover, Bristol, he's been great at Nashville. I'm a little surprised by that, but he's obviously been very good at Charlotte, like you mentioned. A little surprised by that.
Give me
Stenhouse. I like it. It's a good pick. It is a good pick. I'm just surprised given the number of tracks he could be very good at.
I just got a gut feeling.
Yeah.
Just got it. Of course, it's probably going to end up him and Busch are going to get into it on lap 4.
I was going to say, there's that downside.
Yeah, there's also that, but I don't know. Give me Stenhouse at Charlotte. Locking it in.
All right, so Jordan with the number 47, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. at Charlotte, trying to figure out how to go through this sheet and do that. There we go. I'm feeling pretty good about my pick. I'm going to go with a guy who we also talked about. Best career finish here. I'm wearing his shirt. And that's Zane Smith. Like,
this
where
is gonna
else
be the
am I?
week he comes through with the top 10.
Where else am I going to pick Zane Smith? I'm like looking at his results. Xfinity, Trucks, Cup. Where else am I going to pick Zane Smith?
You know where I'm gonna pick him?
Where?
Daytona or Atlanta or Talladega.
But see, I could pick so many other guys there.
So I know
Harrison Burton. I mean, I guess I already did, but I like Daniel Suarez almost. I would normally pick Daniel Suarez here, but he's struggled so much that I'm just saving him for like Atlanta. Him or LaJoy for Atlanta. I guess I already picked LaJoy at first Atlanta, but like I'm saving Daniel Suarez for like Atlanta. Why would I not save the 51 for Daytona or Talladega?
Yep.
And then at that point, it's like, okay, well, maybe I just play Gilly at one of those. Because I haven't used Gilly yet, right? So I'm feeling pretty good about Zane Smith here at Charlotte. I think outside of a drafting track, I think this is the best spot to play him.
For my sake of this contest, I hope he pulls a Vegas and hits the wall on lap 4.
I'm taking Zane Smith.
That's a good pick. That you are right. Where else are you going to pick him? Like I said, I haven't penciled in it at like Atlanta or something. But
yeah, no, I mean that's totally fair. He's not even the guy you use at like road courses, right? So
no,
it either comes down to you play him at a intermediate or a super speedway. I think of all the intermediates, I'm going to take one of the ones that has a lot of chaos.
My thought process on Zane Smith is I've been holding him until they finally turn it around. And there is no end in sight. There's no light at the end of that tunnel. That team is just shit. Whether they were so good at Texas. Whether they have speed or not, like they're not getting finishes. So I'm just waiting for them to finally break through.
Yeah, but Texas it's going to happen eventually. Texas was bad luck.
Yeah.
He pitted and then the caution came out. I mean, there's nothing you can do about that or whatever.
Yeah.
I shouldn't say he pitted and the caution. It was the opposite. He pitted, 20 laps ran, and then the caution came out and it screwed him on strategy.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know.
Yeah, that biggest race of the year, and you and I have Stenhouse and Zane Smith as our picks. I
actually love. Here's one thing that I think is interesting. If we add up the numbers of our car, it's 118. I think that's the biggest this year. By far, it's the biggest this year. 96 when we took Bowman. Both took Bowman. I think it's the second biggest.
87 at Bristol.
83 at Darlington.
82 at Martinsville. So, yeah.
So, if you add up the car numbers, our car numbers sum up to 118. That'll all change once we take Daniel Suarez, but
right. Huh. Well, yeah, it'll be interesting to see how those two guys do this week. And how this game continues to unfold as the season goes on.
And like, if we just look at it based off the point standings, I'm technically still taking a driver worse than you.
Yep.
That
is accurate.
I have even more ammo in the bag after this. Based off of just the standings.
I just need a good week. Give me a good week, Stenhouse. You know what? I might change my pick.
Uh-oh.
You know what I just thought of?
What'd you think of?
And I think you might change your pick based on this as well.
Uh-oh.
There's 4 stages. That's an extra 10 points to take a top-tier guy.
Yeah. I think Zane Smith will be in the top 10 in one of these stages.
What? You are insane! How much of that bottle have you had?
He was at Texas, right?
Can we get a bet going here that Zane Smith will not finish in the top 10 at a stage?
Zane Smith was not in the top 10 in one of the stages. You know who was at Texas?
Ricky Stenhouse Jr.
In both stages.
Yep.
Chase fucking Briscoe.
Damn it.
But I've already used Chase Briscoe.
I kind of want to pick a top tier guy because of the extra stage points. I feel like that would be advantageous here.
Do you want to hear this? Holy shit, dude. Do you want to hear this stage 2 finish from Texas?
Yeah.
Ross Chastain, which is, he's fine, but he's not like your elite, right?
Right.
Bubba Wallace, same thing. Ryan Blaney, yeah, last year's champion. Eric Jones, 4th. Chase Briscoe, 5th. Brad Keselowski, again, like more on that Chastain Bubba level. Harrison Burton, 7th.
Oof.
Ricky Stenhouse Jr., 8th. Ty Gibbs, 9th. Again, same thing with like Bubba, Chastain, Kez. And Chase Elliott, 10th. I think we could agree Chase kind of on that level as well. Like, we didn't have a Larson, a Hamlin, a Truex, a Bell, a Byron, a Reddick. That second stage at Texas was pretty interesting.
And I don't even remember. Well, I guess that whole race was kind of just messed up.
It was weird because of the pit strategy stuff and getting out of the groove, hitting the wall, all the cautions. But I'm not letting one stage change my whole strategy.
I'm about to. I know I probably shouldn't, but
I will say, with the chaos of this race, is it worth it?
There's also that aspect of it. Yep, you're not wrong.
Let me look at 2023 stages, just to help you out. Stage 1 winner, William Byron. Stage 2 winner, Chris Buescher. Stage 3 winner, Ryan Blaney. Stage 1 runner-up, Bell, Harvick, Reddick. That's 6 different guys in the top 2 in 6 opportunities. Then we add in 3rd place, Blaney, Keselowski, Truex. So only Blaney has been duplicated in the top 3 of the 3 stages. So out of 9 opportunities, we only had 1 duplicate in the top 3 of a stage.
Even if
we go to 4th, it's Reddick, Logano, Byron, and none of them had a top 3 finish in any of the other stages. So out of 12, we only had 1 duplicate. We have to go to top 5 in a stage to have multiple duplicates. Just pointing that out. Now it's 2023. I think 2022 is probably similar. Yeah, Elliott, Suarez, Ross for 1st. Reddick, Ross, Briscoe for 2nd. Bell, Jones, Larson for 3rd. Ross, Briscoe, Reddick for 4th. Okay, so at least the top 3 in a stage. There's only been 1 duplicate in both races of the Coke 600.
Sticking with Stenhouse. The other guy I was going to go with, I was going to switch it to Kyle Busch.
don't hate that. I don't know where to use Kyle Busch.
I'm going to use Kyle Busch next week at Gateway.
See, I was thinking I was going to use Logano next week at Gateway.
Kyle Busch
Especially
has been
after
so
the
good
Clash.
at
Right?
Gateway.
Or not the Clash, the All-Star race. Like Logano and Gateway is just feels like a spot you have to play.
I get it. I'm sticking with my guts. Not changing anything. We'll see how it goes.
I like it.
Actually, no. Give me Kyle Busch. Switching it. Switching it to Kyle Busch. Going Kyle Busch.
Oh! See, this is the internal debate that goes through everything. It's like there's so much strategy that goes into this. And for those of you who, if you didn't hear last week's episode, because it was the All-Star weekend, yes, we heard your feedback on potentially doing this with all of you next year. I love this. I think this is great. I love it. We just we didn't have time ahead of the season to open 36 for 36 to everyone because we only found out about it about 2 hours before the green flag at the Daytona 500. So, yeah, that's that.
Here's my reasoning for going Kyle Busch. Last 6 races at Charlotte: 6th, 2nd, 3rd, 29th, 4th, 3rd.
Mm-hmm.
Las Vegas and Kansas this year, average running position, 6th best.
Yep, I like that. But what about Texas?
We're not talking about Texas.
But it's probably the most comparable to Charlotte.
Nope, not talking about Texas.
I do like that Kyle Busch pick as well.
Kyle Busch finished 9th at Texas. I'll take that.
Which is funny because this is the race that PJ bet Kyle Busch 2 years ago.
Yep.
We bet Denny Hamlin. Well, what's Kyle Busch's odds to win? I don't think it's worth it, but I'm curious.
30-1, maybe.
20 bet MGM is the longest. That's not worth it.
No.
Yeah, it's not worth it.
That's how much I don't think that Stenhouse is going to wreck him.
Yeah.
Because that would be
It's funny that you chose Kyle Busch and Ricky Stenhouse Jr., but you know what that says?
I know.
Ricky Stenhouse Jr. plus 210 is a good pick.
Yep.
In that head-to-head.
Need to lock that in. Still need to lock that in.
Yeah, I'm going to lock it in after we get off here. I like it.
Oh, boy. All right. Great weekend ahead. Monaco, Indy 500, Coca-Cola 600. Should be a ton of great racing.
You know what? Hold up.
What?
One other thing. It's Monaco, Indy, Coke 600. So I feel like we need a Luvabella food pairing for each race, right? Like you got to have the mimosa in the morning with Monaco, whatever your favorite breakfast is. You got to crack one of those, maybe that chocolate peanut butter stout for the Indy 500. I think for the Coke 600 of the Luvabella / brew kettle, what's the best pairing for that? Because normally I'd just be like, Busch or Budweiser or whatever, and burgers or something.
Mm-hmm.
What of the Luvabella and brew kettle options, what do you think is the best for the 600?
For the 600. Whew. I'm not a big fan of it, but I feel like transitioning into night, it's a great time to drink your bourbon barrel-aged Merlot.
Yeah.
I feel like that's the time.
Yeah. One of those bourbon barrel-aged Luvabella wines, I think, is a great time to transition it. Moderation, of course, because it's a long race. Maybe intersperse that with some Budweisers or something. Maybe a steak and a bourbon barrel aged Lubabella wine.
You know what I'm thinking about doing for Sunday? I haven't ordered anything yet, but I'm thinking about getting some crawfish shipped in and having a little seafood boil.
Dude, I love that too. Crawfish boils are awesome. Being from the Southeast, I know I wasn't from like Louisiana area or whatever, but we'd get that shipped into North Carolina. I had friends from Louisiana that we do that with, and they'd prep all that. That's so good.
Yeah,
I like that idea.
I'm craving crawfish in a big way.
Yeah, me too. Me too. Sounds good. It's gonna be a great race weekend,
By the way,
everybody.
I got Stenhouse locked in that head-to-head, and I'm betting Kirkwood right now.
30-1 bet MGM.
30-1.
I love it. I bet him 25-1 before practice and qualifying. After practice and qualifying, or I should say before qualifying. After practice and qualifying, I love Kirkwood 30-1. Tons. And I know I have the bias, but I love it.
Yep.
Removing bias, I love it. Like, if he's anywhere close to Colton Herta, which I think last year he was better than Colton Herta and their teammates, and this year he's maybe a touch behind Colton Herta. But if Herta's 12, 13, I think he's 15 at DraftKings as the longest. Kirkwood should be 18 to 20 tops. Especially given this qualifying was unflattering, right? If he'd qualified instead of 11th, if he'd qualified 8th, where he probably should be, he'd be 20 right now.
Yeah, he'd be 20, he'd be 18,
Books
somewhere in that
overreacted
range.
Qualifying for no reason at the Indy 500. Again, one of the spots where you should qualifying least matters.
Mm-hmm.
But it's going to be a great race weekend. I'm looking forward to it, obviously. But Jordan will have to come up with some like silly prop bets or something, or I don't know, over under number of beers we have combined, or
right,
something like that. You know, something silly.
Yeah,
it's like we have Daytona to start the year, but then this is the next biggest race weekend of the year, and after this, it's just like, okay, now it's just racing until
the playoffs,
basically, or like the cutoff race or something.
Yeah,
and even then, like the playoffs is still kind of monotonous until you get to like the very bitter end.
Mm-hmm.
So
I will say, I think the return to the Indy Oval is going to be a big weekend for NASCAR. I hope it is anyway.
I agree with that, but
I always enjoyed that race. I know a lot of people didn't,
I did
but
too.
I always
It's like
enjoyed
Pocono,
racing
right?
on the Oval.
It's
like
exactly.
Pocono.
Yeah, I mean, and Pocono and Indy are back to back. But no, I think it's going to be awesome. The only issue is I'm not sure books are necessarily going to treat it with the respect it deserves, given we've been on the road course the past 3 years.
Mm-hmm. That's a good point.
So we'll have to see how that all plays out, but I'm looking forward to it.
Yep. But yeah, first we got Charlotte this weekend, and then off to Gateway, and then newly repaved Sonoma. So getting the second half of this regular season kicked off this weekend. The Coca-Cola
We got
600
so
Charlotte.
much diversity in these tracks coming up. It's exciting.
Yeah, Charlotte, Gateway, Sonoma, Iowa, New Hampshire, Nashville. A lot of short flats.
Yep.
And yeah, first race at Iowa. New Sonoma, and then Iowa.
Then we go Pocono, Indy. Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah. It'll go by quick, that's for damn sure. So,
Sure will.
good luck, everybody, this weekend with your bets, with fantasy. Shout out Lubabella Winery. Shout out Brew Kettle. No shout out to Zane Smith. Please, Rick.
And I feel the same way about Kyle Busch. No, wait. Did you
See
keep
you guys.
Stenhouse? I already forgot. Yeah, Kyle Busch. Same,
Nope,
same to Kyle
Kyle
Busch.
Busch.
Same to Kyle Busch.
Rowdy. Yep.
Go Truex, right?
Exactly.
We're on the same page there. See y'all.
Yep.